We want to find the value of the pronumeral, that's the x, in each of the following. So we can see we have a right-angled triangle, and the angle we know here is the 28. The longest side is, of course, the hypotenuse, and this side over here, with respect to the 28 degrees, is the opposite. Start with the mnemonic. So, ka, toa. Because we have opposite and hypotenuse, that tells us that we should be using this one. Then go from the definition. The sine of the angle, which in this case is 28 degrees, is equal to the opposite, which is x, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 20. To get x on its own, multiply both sides by 20, and then the 20 here cancels, and we get 20 multiplied by sine 28 degrees. You don't need to think about solving this every time. There's just a pattern that you can follow here. But you should be writing down all of these steps every time you do this. Now, we're in degrees. Always make sure your calculator is in degree mode if the angle's in degrees. So we've got 20 multiplied by sine 28 and execute, and that gives me 9.39, and the units would be centimeters, and that's correct to 2 decimal places. So let's look at this next one. This is the angle we know, this is the hypotenuse, this one is the adjacent with respect to this angle. Write down the mnemonic. So, ka, toa. Adjacent and hypotenuse tells us we're using the cosine. Write down the definition. So we've got cos of the angle is the length of the adjacent, which is the unknown, x, over the length of the hypotenuse. Now this time I'm going to use an e-activity instead. So let's go Menu, e-activity, and at the moment I've got methods open, so I need to open my apps 1 and 2. And here we go. So we're using the cosine. Cos is equal to a over h, so that's going to be the 1. And the angle is 63. And we know that the hypotenuse was 15. And we're trying to find the length of the adjacent. And then click solve, and we get 6.81. So x is equal to 6.81. Again, it's centimeters, correct to 2 decimal places. Now, in this triangle here, we know the long side is the hypotenuse. We're looking at this angle here. So this one is the adjacent. This one is the opposite. Write down the mnemonic, and we have opposite and adjacent, and that tells us we need to be using the tangent. So the tangent of the angle is the length of the opposite over the length of the adjacent. And then it's the same pattern we've had before, or we could go and use the activity. So 12 times tan 25 degrees, and then we just need to calculate that. So that's 12 multiplied by tan 25 gives us 5.60, and again centimeters to 2 dp. So we just got this last one to look at, and this is the angle, this is the hypotenuse clearly, this is the adjacent. So ka, toa, adjacent and hypotenuse tells us it's the cosine. So the cosine of 58 degrees is equal to the length of the adjacent, which is 8, divided by the length of the hypotenuse, which is x. Now note this is different to over here. It's the other way up. Now I'll just move the calculator out of the way for a moment. If you have cos 58 degrees is equal to 8 divided by x, clearly in solving this you could bring the x up like this, and then divide both sides by cos 58, giving 8 over cos 58. But you'll notice that the net effect is that the x and the cos 58 have swapped places. So you don't need to go through this process. You can just remember this. When the x is on the bottom, the x and the angle part will change places, whether it's cosine, sine, or tan. So we'll get this, and then we need to calculate that. So let's use a fraction template, and we'll have 8 divided by the cosine of 58, and you have to make sure you close the bracket on this. And that would give us 15.10. Again, it's centimeters to 2dp. Now, let's just go back to the E activity as well. And so this was a cosine, so we'll go here. And the angle was 58. And in this case, we knew the adjacent. We knew that that was 8. Clear that, and we're trying to find the hypotenuse, and click solve, and you can see it gives us the same answer.